Now I'm going to do some front forks, show you how that goes on a Speedway. Now note, these are from a 10-inch Speedway. Unfortunately, I rebuilt the front forks on the Red Baron and forgot to film it. Anyways, I'm using this spanner wrench here. It's not, there's holes, so you should probably use the right spanner wrench, but I bought this at Tractor Supply and it actually works pretty well for just unscrewing these caps. And once you get that done, we can take the fork apart. So now I have both caps unscrewed, and that went incredibly easy. Usually it does not. You can slide the stays off. Now this is another thing that's going incredibly easy. Now also note the oil. There's oil. These are oil shocks, so don't try not to make a bloody mess out of everything. Usually it's really difficult to slide these off. So I've often had to use heat, like from a propane torch. Not a lot, but enough to get it free to pull them off. And then these get sacrificed. But in this case, we're golden. So the next thing you have to unscrew are these bottom stays. And notice on the top, we've got these little brass retainers. And then there's a seal inside this cup, and of course the oil seals up here. You want to try and save as much of that stuff as possible because largely these parts are not available. Hidden inside these lower stays are the springs. And the springs are a major soft spot because often they're just broken, but mostly they're just old and compressed. And you're not a 100-pound kid anymore, so you want something a little stiffer. So I use these blue springs that I buy. Actually, you can get them from Zorro, or I think they're available on eBay. I'll put the name of the spring up on the screen. A lot of times the blue ones are a little too stiff, but you can use one blue one and one stock one. I know that sounds weird, but because you have a front axle going across, it actually works out pretty well to do it that way. There's also a green variety that are perfect, but they're much harder to get, special order, and more expensive. So a lot of times I'll just do the one blue and the one stock. As far as these nylon stays that go on the non-moving fork portion, I take used Rupp stays here and cut them to the appropriate length. Now for 10-inch model bikes, you can see they're a lot shorter. On 14-inch, they're 6 inches long. You just cut them. If you can't get good Rupp used ones, you can buy brand new ones for the 71 through 75 Roadster style front ends and then just cut them to length. These work great when you're rebuilding them because, like I said, usually these are just, they're destroyed. On these guys, I media blast them, clean the inside, and powder coat them black. Again, I use black. In reality, Speedway matched these stays to the color of the frame. But because I sometimes play musical front ends, I just want mine black so I can move a front end from a bike to a bike without having to worry about color match. The next thing are these dust caps. There was a guy selling these on eBay, but to be honest with you, I might have screwed all you guys because I think I bought every one he had. So these are kind of tough to find. Often they're missing or destroyed. If you can reuse the originals, like on this particular, they're great. I can reuse these. In the neck, you've got these nylon things that go in the neck tube of the main frame. For some reason, Speedway did not use actual ball bearings. They used these nylon bushings. You can often reuse these, but again, sometimes they're available on eBay if you can't. But you could also probably use ball bearing versions of this low speed ball bearing. That's not out of the question. But aside from that, it's just putting it all back together. Again, these come off. Again, I use my tool here to get these off, or you can use an actual spanner wrench. Notice the hole in the ends. That hole 3/32 of an inch, must be clear. That allows the oil to pass through the whole thing, because you're going to put about 2 ounces of oil in this thing. Through the top here, there's some oil adding holes. Do that before you put the handlebars on. And make sure you have these bolts here, because if you run the bike without these bolts, it will literally spray you in the face while you're riding. So don't forget to have those bolts. Then you just put all this stuff back together, clean it up the best you can. I mean, I can often wire wheel this rust off and then treat it with some clear lacquer, or you can powder coat it. If you powder coat it, just make sure that the part that actually moves in and out of the seals is not powder coated, because it might make the forks more resistive and not work as well. But the biggest deal is, again, these springs. That's the thing you have to deal with. You have to increase the spring tension, because, again, we're not 100 pounds anymore. I mean, I'm a $175. I need stronger springs, or you're going to be collapsing the front end all the time. Don't forget to put a couple ounces of oil here and here. I just use straight 30 weight, though technically it should probably be a higher weight. You just need something to lubricate these and those nylon spacers, because if you don't, they'll seize up. I see Speedways all the time with seized forks, and that's because they've gone dry on the oil, and then add a little weather and rust, and you're in trouble. Now, as far as the springs, this is stock springs, and if I push, you can see it doesn't take a lot of effort to compress these. That's why, as adults, you really need stronger springs of some sort in there. Otherwise, the ride's going to be too soft. You're going to bottom out the front forks all the time. And if you bottom out, you could bend the stays here and here. And then you're into another world of hurt that you probably don't want to deal with.